This is the morning of April 6, 2014. I'm taking a hike in Butte County to make a little video this morning. I ran across these little wildflowers in bloom. You can hear the sound of some happy frogs. In the distance there, we've got the coastal range. And if I'm not mistaken, I see some snow over here. So this is looking west. It's very mountainous. I'm turning north. It's a vast valley. Hey, to start out, last night I was at a CVS. It's a big chain. I don't know if they have them where you are, but here in Chico, California, I was at one last night, and as usual, I got into a discussion, this time with a clerk at the store. And this gal was telling me she's married, she's got a little baby, and she was getting about 30 hours a week at this CVS. And since Obamacare, all the employers are trying to find a loophole, and her hours have been reduced to under 10 hours a week from 30. So this is to give you an idea of what's really going on. Don't pay any attention to the mainstream media and what they're telling you if things are getting better. They're getting better for the haves, maybe, as long as the establishment continues to continue on its course of fraud. The wealth disparity will continue to grow, and poverty will flourish and explode. But the discussion I was having with this gal, I try to educate people a little bit on basic laws of supply and demand. And, I was pointing out to her that in 1963, the federal minimum wage was $1.25 an hour, and this can be vetted. You can check my statistics online through the Labor Department statistics. And silver coins were widely circulated at that time. So a silver dollar was an ounce of silver approximately, and $1.25 would represent an ounce and a quarter of silver. So if you want to know what it would take to match the equivalent buying power of $1.25 in 1963, you would need an ounce and a quarter of silver today, approximately. So roughly, silver's been running pretty steadily around $20, and it's unlikely to fall below that, I would say. At least not much, because it'll be snapped up in a hurry, I know. But the point is that it's a good tell, and it reveals what, how our standard of living has fallen so acutely in this country. And this is how it's happened through a slow, steady progression of your cost of living increasing without a counterbalancing cost of living adjustment for the lowest paid workers, the minimum wage class. And I find it quite disgusting. And a lot of people will think that, they'll say, well, hey, you know what, if we raise minimum wage, it's going to create inflation. And I say, hold on. The inflation is the justification for a cost of living adjustment. So don't hand me a bunch of crap that you don't believe yourself, or if you do, you're an idiot, okay? One of two. You're either an idiot or a liar, because the reality is clear. Our standard of living has been just chiseled away at, and there's been periods when it's really plummeted, like after Bill Clinton allowed the Glass-Steagall Act to be ended. This allowed the bankers to just dump all this currency on the housing market. And that's all it took, really, to cause our problems. Because housing is one of very few essential human needs. Basically, essential human needs include housing, shelter, food, and drinkable water. And beyond that, you could consider even clothing to be an option, not an essential human need, as long as you had shelter. So you see what's happened here is that these money printers at the very top, the policymakers, have dumped all this currency on us in ways that were illegal prior to Glass-Steagall. Just, they wanted it out there. They wanted the public indebted to them forever if they could get away with it. And as long as they believed that they were insured, and you found out that in '08, the banking takeover, what I call it, with Harry Paulson in there at Congress, warning, if you don't legitimize this theft, then we're going to, well, he used different words, but that's all I heard. Then, we're going to cause real problems for the establishmentarians, the status quo. And so Congress, being the whores they are, and these politicians, I consider them all the same. They're all on the same basic level in that they want to protect the established status quo. They don't want to rock the boat with that critical mass that's vested in Wall Street and whatnot. So these are the people they're protecting, and these top thieves. So that's all we needed, is for one commodity that we couldn't get away from to escalate in price, and then everybody's trying to keep their head above water. So then you see inflation everywhere. You see it in food, you see it in gasoline. Cigarettes have gone way up with the Obama tax. One of the first things he did after he was in office is he somehow managed to double the retail price of a pack of cigarettes here in California. So if you were spending $50 a month on your tobacco habit, you were now spending $100. A lot of people don't know that, and how that was a tax on the poor, which he promised not to do. And that's the same thing with this Obamacare. Now, according to my recollection, Obama promised not to raise taxes on the poor. Below a certain income level, you weren't going to feel any pain during his administration, only relief. And when the Obamacare was being contested and it ended up in the hands of the Supreme Court, the justification given by the Judge Roberts, I believe it was, was that, well, normally this would be unconstitutional to force the public to purchase a private insurance policy. You can't rightfully coerce them to do this thing. But since we're calling it a tax, then it's okay. You can do it. Now again, Obama promised not to raise taxes on the poor. And everything that Obama has done has hurt the poor. So anybody that says that the Democrats are, on the side of the poor, think again, folks, okay? Because they keep taking us down the same path. In my entire life, all I've seen is the disintegration of our currency through debasement, through the inflation of your cost of living, without a corresponding cost of living adjustment for the bluest collar workers out there, the minimum wage workers, which are, if there are indispensable workers, invaluable, whose jobs cannot be substituted at all. Okay, these people are the most important folks out there. If to do this to these people and to in any way try to justify it is pure evil in my sight. Okay, and anybody with half a brain, any sense of integrity or conscience, you can say this is wrong, wrong, wrong. And you know what? I don't really know what it's going to take to turn it around, but the best I can do is try to educate people. And why I always talk about sound currency versus unsound currency and what's really going on here, it goes back to what Jesus taught. He taught that the love of money is the root of all evil. And the only way we can get away from this thing, this false God, he identified it as a false competing God. Okay, because it is God that provides the intelligence we need to build shelter, to provide ourselves with food. God provided the flora and the fauna that gives us our food. Okay, it's God that deserves homage, only God, and we've got to understand that. And somehow we've got to find a way to render irrelevant this false God called money. And the only way I can think of, okay, is through an understanding at birth that this planet belongs as much to you as it does to me as anybody else. And who would object to that? Well, nobody in their right mind. But of course, the people at the tippy top in this world are not of their right mind. These are your top money lovers. These are often Satanists. Whether it's witting or unwitting, they love this paradigm of advantage, disadvantage, this ultimate form of discrimination, okay? That's what these people love. They love to be at the top and to be the controllers, and they don't care at what cost it is to the average human being. In fact, a lot of these people, it's well known, want to get rid of a large portion of humanity. And they cite, well, it's to save the earth, so we're the benevolent ones. But they never offer to take their own lives. And, you know, this reminds me of California. Here I am in California. Most people think it's an eco-fascist state, right? Because they pick and choose. What they do is they'll get real picky. It's like Jesus said. He said, you hypocrites, you strain out a gnat and you swallow a camel. And that's what they do here in California. Because I'll give you an example. Where I reside, there's a lot next door. It's several acres. It's probably 3, 4, 5 acres. I really don't know. I've never measured it. But this fellow, I've offered to actually cut his weeds for him at a discounted price because he's a next door neighbor. And he has vied to use this weed spraying service. So he's spraying toxic chemicals equivalent to Agent Orange in all this acreage. And all these houses adjacent to where this field is are on wells. Most all of these houses are on wells. So this toxic substance with the glyphosate, typically that's what weed killers have, is this glyphosate chemical, and it's leaching into the well water, and then people are consuming this. And this could likely explain why cancer rates are going up, because it's a proven carcinogen. That's one example that California considers okay. This is completely legal for this fella to do this. And I don't see anybody out there regulating it to see if it's a windy day and, so overspray is going on to the neighbors' foliage and whatnot. None of that. No discussion in the mainstream media. There's not a whisper, not a peep about it. We got chemtrails going on. Okay, with no discussion about any negative health effects this could be causing to the general public, and no accountability as to what they're really doing in manipulating the climate. They don't want to, be liable if they do cause problems for the climate, drought, storms, on that order. Then we got GMOs out there. The corn is toxic, filled with pesticides are grown into the product where the insects won't eat it, but it's considered fit for human consumption. And the same with the herbicides. Herbicide-resistant soybeans are sold readily all over the place here in California. And aspartame in the gum and the soda pop, the diet soda pop contains this substance. Toxic substance, causes wood alcohol to form in your blood, causing brain damage, heart attacks, cancer, death. And, and this is accessible to the children. They're saying it's okay for our kids to eat this substance. And then we got the high fructose corn syrup. People think they're drinking innocent sugar in their soda pop, and what they're getting is this high fructose corn syrup, and our bodies can't use it. And so you wonder why type 2 diabetes is skyrocketing. Well, could that be the cause? I know that I was getting big toe gout from using this soda pop riddled with this high fructose corn syrup. Our bodies can't use it. And gout is just behind, type 2 diabetes. So it's a very serious problem we've got here, folks. And I lost a brother-in-law. He was doing this high fructose corn syrup. He was in his mid-60s, just dropped dead of a massive heart attack. And this was in 2011. And my sister told me that he had been drinking that stuff. He always had a couple liters of that diet soda pop he thought was so healthy because it was called diet. And of course, dieting is healthy, right?